Train these four muscles for a proportional body, the silhouette that commands respect. There is a brutal difference between a big body and a body that commands respect, and this difference is not in size but rather in where you put the work. Human psychology processes silhouettes in fractions of a second, long before processing details. This means that the impression your physique makes on people, especially on women, is formed before they consciously realize anything. A proportional body triggers primitive signals of strength, health, and dominance. An unbalanced body, no matter how muscular, does not generate this effect. And despite many denying it and saying they train exclusively for health, the truth is we all have a bit of vanity and want our effort to show, aiming to be seen differently. That is why today you will see the four specific muscle groups that, when developed together, completely change how your physique is read by other brains. Before we begin, please leave your name and the city where you are watching our content in the comments. We would love to know. Let us start with the muscle that, according to science, most impacts the first impression of your physique. Exercise number 1, lateral cable raise. Wide shoulders are, according to body perception studies, the masculine physical trait that most influences the first impression of strength and dominance. A study published in Proceedings of the Royal Society B demonstrated that the shoulder-to-hip ratio is the main predictor of masculine attractiveness perceived by women. It is not the chest, it is not the abdomen, it is the shoulders. And the muscle responsible for creating this three-dimensional width is specifically the lateral deltoid. A man with developed chest but narrow shoulders creates a contradictory illusion. He appears strong from the front, fragile from the side, and this imbalance is instinctively perceived by anyone who sees him. It is almost like having a sports car with dented bodywork. The first impression undoes everything the engine could communicate. Lateral deltoid development does not just transform aesthetics, it changes the geometry of the entire body. Wider shoulders create contrast with the waist that visually narrows the torso, even without any fat loss. This effect is real and documented in body image perception studies. The lateral cable raise is superior to the traditional dumbbell because it maintains constant tension throughout the entire arc of movement, eliminating the so-called dead zone of the first degrees, where the dumbbell simply does not generate real resistance against gravity. With the cable, the deltoid works from beginning to end of each repetition, without any moment of involuntary relief. To execute correctly, position the pulley at the lowest height, hold with the hand opposite to the cable crossing slightly in front of the body, keep the elbow slightly flexed and raise the arm to parallel with the floor, returning the weight in a controlled manner in 3 seconds on the descent. Avoid raising the shoulder during the movement, using trunk momentum to initiate each repetition or exceeding ear height on the ascent, as this excess does not add stimulus to the muscle and increases joint risk. 3 sets of 12 to 15 repetitions per side, contraindicated for those with rotator cuff injury or acute shoulder bursitis. Exercise number 2, lateral dumbbell raise. A study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research compared different variations of lateral raise and confirmed that the dumbbell version executed with 3-second eccentric control on the descent generates lateral deltoid activation up to 40%, superior to the version performed with fast up and down movement. This reinforces that time under tension is determining in this exercise. Execution speed is the main enemy of results when the objective is real muscle development. Regular practitioners who master the eccentric phase can transform shoulder width much more efficiently than those who simply throw their arms up and down without any control. The difference between the two groups becomes visible in just a few weeks. To execute correctly, stand with dumbbells at your side and elbows slightly flexed. Raise your arms laterally to parallel with the floor with thumb slightly down as if pouring the contents of a cup, and descend slowly and controlled, counting 3 seconds in the descent phase. The most common and destructive error is using excessive load, which transfers work to the upper trapezius and completely removes focus from the lateral deltoid, making the exercise useless for the objective. Other frequent errors include swinging the trunk backward to gain momentum at the beginning of the repetition and hunching the neck during the ascent. These two patterns indicate that the load is above what the muscle can move with real control. If you cannot descend in 3 seconds without breaking posture, reduce the weight immediately. 3 sets of 12 to 15 repetitions, contraindicated for people with subacromial impingement syndrome in acute phase. Now let us move to the muscle that is on display all the time and that most people completely ignore. Exercise number 3, reverse dumbbell curl. The forearm is the most exposed muscle of the human body throughout the day. Short sleeves, rolled up shirt, gym, work, street. It is always on display. And psychologically, a dense and well-developed forearm triggers a primitive signal of functional strength. It is not the artificial aesthetics of a muscle trained in isolation. It is the instinctive perception of someone who truly uses their body, who grips, carries, and acts in the physical world. Attraction studies confirm that forearms are among the most noticed traits in men during everyday interactions, associated with physical competence and security. And what ruins this entire effect? A hypertrophied biceps with thin forearm. This visual discontinuity undoes all the work and transmits the sensation of an unfinished, almost childish physique. The effort of months on direct curls shows, but the ensemble does not close. The reverse dumbbell curl uses pronated grip, that is, with palms facing down. This apparently simple change completely alters the target muscle and directs work to the brachioradialis, which is the medius part of the forearm and mainly responsible for its visual volume. It is not a popular exercise and is not in most generic programs. Exactly for this reason, whoever includes it in their routine gets ahead quite easily. To execute correctly, hold dumbbells with palms down, keep elbows fixed at your side, raise the weight to 90 degrees without completing the entire curl, and descend resisting for 3 seconds. Avoid turning wrists during movement. Dropping the weight on descent or letting elbows move. Any of these errors removes tension from the brachioradialis and wastes the exercise. 3 sets of 12 repetitions twice per week. Contraindicated for those with lateral epicondylitis in acute phase. Before we continue, if you're over 50, take a look at this statistic. According to the WHO, between 28 and 35% of people over 65 suffer at least one fall each year. More than 70% of these falls happen inside the home. And today, falls are the leading cause of loss of independence among older adults worldwide. Many people blame it on bad luck, but in reality, it comes down to a lack of strength, balance, mobility, and physical preparedness. That's why our team created biological armor, a complete protocol for people in their 50s, 60s, or 70s who want to make sure they never go through that. Inside the protocol, you'll get a special home exercise program designed to build functional strength, real balance, and reverse years of poor posture and physical neglect without damaging your joints. You'll also learn the habits scientists have identified as common among the populations with the highest life expectancy in the world, habits that less than 1% of the Western population actually practices. Access it now by clicking the pinned link in the first comment of this video, or by pointing your phone's camera at the code appearing on the screen. Exercise number 4, wrist extension. Wrist extension activates forearm extensors, significantly superior to compound exercises like deadlift and farmer's carry, making it indispensable for complete forearm muscle development. This is especially true for the dorsal surface, which is exactly what shows when the arm is relaxed at your side during conversation, walking, or any everyday situation. It is the muscle that appears without you needing to do anything, just by existing well developed. And precisely for this reason, its absence is noticed the same way. To execute correctly, sit on a bench or chair, rest your forearm on your leg or flat surface with wrist over the edge and palm facing down, hold a light dumbbell, and raise the back of your hand as high as you can, returning slowly and controlled. The movement should come exclusively from the wrist. The most common error is using excessive load, forcing movement to come from the elbow instead of the wrist and completely nullifying stimulus in the target muscle. Performing the movement quickly and carelessly is another frequent error that wastes time under tension, which is exactly what generates results in this exercise. Use light load, go slowly, and feel the muscle work. This is worth more than any number on the dumbbell. 3 sets of 15 repetitions. Contraindicated for people with lateral epicondylitis in acute phase. Before we continue, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and activate notification bell. Having constant access to science-based information is what will make you progress healthily long-term in the world of exercise. We now arrive at the muscle group that most imposes presence when you turn your back. Exercise number 5, front lat pull down. The back is the largest surface area of upper body muscle and the one that most imposes visual presence when well developed, especially in a reality where people circulate, are in profile, are with their backs turned. A man with big chest but flat back appears two-dimensional, and this illusion is completely undone the moment he turns around. Developed back creates the V shape that visually widens shoulders, narrows waist by contrast, and communicates structural authority before any word. Body language studies consistently show that people with wide backs are perceived as more dominant and confident in social contexts. And you know what is most curious about all this? Most men spend years obsessively training chest and completely neglecting back, creating exactly the imbalance that destroys the silhouette they seek so much. The front lat pull down is one of the best exercises for lats because it allows total load control, grip, and range adjustment, and can be adapted to any experience level without loss of efficiency. To execute correctly, sit with knees fixed under the support, hold the bar with pronated grip slightly wider than shoulders, lean trunk slightly back and pull the bar toward the upper chest, contracting elbows down and back, returning in controlled manner. The trick to engage lats and not biceps is to think about pulling with elbows, not hands. Avoid throwing trunk back excessively, pulling with biceps force without engaging lats, or letting shoulders rise during execution. 3 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions. Contraindicated for those with rotator cuff injury or cervical problems without professional supervision. Exercise number 6, single arm row. A study from the European Journal of Sports Science compared different back exercises and concluded that single arm dumbbell row generates back muscle activation up to 30% superior to conventional bilateral row. This happens because the unilateral version eliminates postural compensations that occur when both sides work simultaneously, forcing each side to produce force independently and completely. The dominant side cannot cover up weakness of the non-dominant side, which over time also corrects accumulated muscle asymmetries without the person noticing. To execute correctly, support one knee and hand of the same side on a bench, maintain neutral spine parallel to floor, hold dumbbell with extended arm and pull toward hip, not shoulder, keeping elbow close to torso and contracting with force at the top, returning in controlled manner in 2 to 3 seconds. The most common error is rotating torso to gain momentum, which transfers work to lower back and removes load from lats. Pulling toward shoulder instead of hip is another frequent error that activates more trapezius than lats, completely changing the exercise without the person realizing. If you do not feel the lat contract at the top of movement, it is a sign that one of these two errors is happening. 3 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions per side. Contraindicated for those with lumbar disc herniation without medical clearance. And now the muscle group that sustains and presents everything that was built. Exercise number 7, mountain climbers. The core goes far beyond abdominal aesthetics. It is the structure that connects upper and lower body, and when weak, compromises posture, stability, and performance in absolutely all other exercises. A physique with developed shoulders and back, but curved posture and abdomen projected forward, loses all the imposingness that took months to build. Erect posture, sustained by a strong core, is what makes the body present everything that was built in the correct way. From a social dominant standpoint, posture is one of the non-verbal signals most strongly associated with confidence and authority. It does not help to have the right physique if posture gives it away as wrong. Training other muscles without training core is like buying a powerful car and driving with flat tires. Mountain climbers is one of the best core exercises because it works isometric stability and dynamic movement simultaneously, engaging rectus abdominis, obliques, and transverse abdominis, which is the deepest and most functional layer of the abdomen. To execute correctly, position yourself in high plank with extended arms, hands below shoulders and body aligned from head to heel, and alternate bringing knees toward chest in controlled rhythm, without letting hips rise or sink at any moment. Avoid losing spinal alignment, holding breath, or accelerating so much that the exercise becomes just cardio without real core tension. The objective is to maintain body stability while legs move, and any excessive hip oscillation indicates rhythm is too high. 3 sets of 30 to 40 seconds. Contraindicated for those with acute lower back pain or shoulder impingement syndrome in active phase. Exercise number 8, lower abdominal. The lower portion of rectus abdominis is the most difficult to develop and most visually relevant, especially in the body fat range where most people find themselves. It is also the region that most influences overall abdominal appearance at rest, which is how it is seen most of the time. Traditional crunch tends to work predominantly the upper portion of the muscle, leaving the lower region practically without stimulus. Exercises focused on hip flexion with pelvis and retroversion, like lower abdominal, correct exactly this imbalance, generating significantly superior activation in the portion that most needs stimulus. To execute correctly, lie on your back with hands under glutes to stabilize pelvis, raise legs to 90 degrees and lower them slowly until near the floor without the lower back losing contact with the ground, returning in controlled manner without using momentum. You will know you are doing it right when you feel the lower back trying to lift off the floor during descent. This is the point of greatest tension, and where most people abandon the movement too early. The most common error is exactly this, letting the lower back lift off, which transfers all load to hip flexors and significantly increases lower back pain risk. Performing movement with speed is another critical error that eliminates eccentric tension, which is the most important phase of this exercise. 3 sets of 12 to 15 repetitions. Contraindicated for people with lumbar disc herniation or abdominal diastasis without professional guidance. These 4 muscle groups form the visual skeleton of a physique that needs no words to communicate strength. Lateral deltoids for width, forearms for presence and details, back for depth and the V, and core to sustain, and present all this with correct posture. None of them in isolation solves. Together, they change how you are read. If you like this and also want to discover the 10 things every man over 40 needs to do to force the body to gain muscle mass in this phase of hormonal decline, we have a video appearing right now on screen showing each one better. Check it out there, and do not forget to also check our biological armor protocol. Thank you for watching until here, and may God bless you, my friend.